have Mr. Jack Ananos, who is our PEDS and bike testing leader. And following him, we will have Mr. Mike Mitchell present on behalf of the Motorcycle Safety Task Team. Okay?
Cool. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello. This will not be a lullaby. And if it becomes a lullaby, I'm going to start laser pointering people who are sleeping, so everyone will know. Please. My name is Jack Ananos. I am the new bike and pedestrian engineer for GDOT. I'm very happy to be here. Shout out to Georgia Tech. I just graduated from here. So, woo! Thank you for letting us be here. Quick show of hands. How many of us here are a pedestrian at any point? Everyone's hand up? You too, but I know you guys know you're pedestrians. So basically, the first thing to understand is we're all pedestrians at some point of every journey. From your house to your car, you're a pedestrian. From your car to the store, you're a pedestrian. If you're getting on or off any public transit, you're a pedestrian. If you're getting on the bus, you're a pedestrian. Off the bus, you're a pedestrian. So basically, it's easy to say, man, I drive all the time, but really, no matter what you're doing, you're going to be walking. And so that involves, for us physically, for people who are not impaired in any way, I could just take some grass. You could really just walk on anything, right? But then there's a lot of people who have limitations to that. There's a lot of people who need special accommodations to freely and actively go about their day. And so then it becomes a little more complicated. It becomes, we have to really design a system for all users. So basically that's kind of at the basis of what we're thinking about with the Pedestrian Safety Task Team. How can we accommodate all users? How can we more effectively make it a safer environment for pedestrians, because we all are pedestrians every time we leave the house at some point. Here's some statistics real quick on the raise in fatalities. And in purple is the actual yearly increase in pedestrian fatalities. So it's obvious that we have a problem in the state of Georgia. More and more people are getting hit by cars, more and more people are dying as pedestrians. Our goal is to flatten the trend, decrease the trend, get around 180 from 250 by 2022. And we have a Vision Zero goal in Georgia, which we are striving for, to reduce pedestrian fatalities to a big fat goose egg. Some of the things that we don't have here, we have fatality data, we have crash data, we have collisions. We don't have near miss data, which is something I've always thought about. Something I'll point out is I would like to find a system where we could perhaps identify places where we could make pedestrian improvements without having a fatality first. Can we improve things before someone has to die? And so moving forward, that's something I'm thinking about, something the task team is thinking about. Some more statistics, a bunch of crashes, a whole lot of injuries, and a lot of fatalities. Some coupling statistics are that 80% of pedestrian crashes happen at night, 57% happen in unlit conditions, and another 70% happen outside of a crosswalk. So, as you can see, and I've been passing out today, I have these See and Be Seen bracelets. Basically, if a car can see you, they can avoid you. If anything you can do as a pedestrian to make yourself more visible is beneficial for your safety. Using a crosswalk, very beneficial for your safety statistically. So it's really common sense practices. If it's light outside, you're more safe. If you're in a crosswalk, you're more safe. They can expect you. They can avoid you. So as a task team, we have just gotten our Pedestrian Safety Action Plan approved, which will be a part of a larger safety document via GOHS. The PSAP, Pedestrian Safety Action Plan, has 4 major components: data, infrastructure, education, and funding. The data component is pretty difficult. We talk about this in a lot of our meetings. It's what kind of data we need, how are we going to get that data, how can we make data-driven choices in improving pedestrian safety throughout the state. The next part is infrastructure. How can we incorporate infrastructure that will accommodate all road users, including bikes and pedestrians? And when do those conversations occur? Is that a box to be checked in infrastructure? Is that early in the design process we're like, we're going to build this road, how can we accommodate everyone? From the ground up, from the design process, from early in the planning stage, recognizing that these roads are for more people than just vehicles. Next is education and enforcement, and I'm so glad to see so many people on the enforcement side of things here today. All you police officers, any police officers, I would absolutely love all of you to sign up for the Pedestrian Safety Task Team because it's such a valuable resource to have people on the enforcement side working with us, and lets us understand what's happening out there on a daily basis. We can inform you of new statistical trends, things that we're working on to identify behavioral patterns that can improve pedestrian safety throughout the state. And the last one is the funding. We're always looking for opportunities and discussing opportunities as a task team as to how we can fund a lot of these pedestrian projects. So as a part of the Pedestrian Safety Action Plan, we established focus designations throughout the state via county, which are top 10 for fatalities, injuries, and crashes, based on cities, and then based on just corridors, which could be just a section of road through anywhere. And so there's 3 different categories of designations. And we were basically working on prioritizing the worst models based on population density. And these 3 kind of represent different things. As you can see, the most amount of crashes happen in the counties surrounding the metro Atlanta area. That being said, if you look at citywide, you bring in, is that Columbus? Probably, is that Macon? Valdosta? Albany, there we go. I'm not from Georgia, but I'm learning slowly, very slowly. I was in Albany and it was fantastic. And then that's Savannah? Okay, got it. There we go. So basically this prioritization method has been used to identify these regions, and if you want any more information on that, we can provide you the Pedestrian Safety Action Plan, and I would implore all of you to look into that and see if your area of focus or region or where you live is a part of either one of the counties, one of the cities, or if you literally live on a focus corridor, which means that you live on a very dangerous street for pedestrian activity. But those are things for education to know and things we're trying to make people more aware of. So we worked with a whole lot of different people to develop this plan, and we'll be working with even more people to enact the plan. And we have a number of action steps listed in the plan that we'll be working with, especially closely with PEDS, GOHS, and a lot of law enforcement agencies across, and GDOT, of course, to start implementing some of these action items, getting pedestrian infrastructure earlier in the planning stage incorporated, and such like that. Incorporating more data-driven choices, finding out better ways we can collect data, not just count fatalities, but count near misses, close near misses, far near misses, and start evaluating safety, but with a more data-driven level. And again, I would implore all of you, especially the law enforcement people, anyone who works with bikes, pedestrians, cars, really everyone sitting down in this room. I don't flood your emails, but you should definitely join the Pedestrian Safety Task Team. You can call into the meetings, you don't even have to show up. So that's pretty amazing. But basically we're looking to develop partners in safety and education. So if you want to be a partner to pedestrians in safety and education, we would love to have you as part of this group. As a resource to us, we'll be a resource to you. The more multifaceted the members are in this group is the more beneficial the group is to everyone. I think it's fantastic that in all of our meetings we've had people from health and safety, we've had law enforcement officers, we've had transportation officials, transportation engineers, design officials, all sorts of people who can attack these problems from such a variety of angles. And so if you do something interesting or unique and you have any sort of interest in pedestrian safety, I would implore you to just put your email down there, and you can always tell me to take it off the list if you really hate the emails. And I will stress again, we love law enforcement support, because a lot of what we do, we don't understand. We're not in the field all the time, and the law enforcement is a lot of times our eyes on the ground, see what's going on at intersections, how these crashes are happening, where the danger zones are. Even without near-miss data, a lot of police officers can see the problem areas. So I will now make a jump straight into the bicycle safety task team, which I'm also in charge of. So hello! 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 Hi, my name is Jack Aninos. I'm the bike and pedestrian engineer for GDOT. And I'm here to talk to you today about bicycle safety. Shout out to Georgia Tech. I just graduated from there. There's Buzz. We're right there. Thank you for having us. No, on a serious note. The Bicycle Safety Task Team, there are a lot of parallels between bikers and pedestrians. Oftentimes, again, you're a pedestrian in every journey, but oftentimes the people that are biking are often easily big fans of walking around and being outside. So great partners is the bike advocacy and the pedestrian advocacy groups. So there's a lot of overlap there, but obviously two very distinct different challenges we face across the state. So I know this is a lot to read. I don't like putting information up here, but there's a bunch of great statistics. Basically this says that everyone wants better biking stuff. Everyone wants more bike lanes, everyone wants to be able to bike more. Most people say that 81 people say that they would ride a bike if their community had better bicycle facilities. How many people in here feel that way? All right, okay, we'll start with this one. How many people own a bicycle in the garage, dusty, clean? Okay. How many people ride said bicycle even a little bit? Okay, we're thinning out the pack. How many people would ride if there was a multi-use path separated from traffic in their area? That is a whole lot more people. You don't have to have a bike. If that would change it for you, if you would buy a bike for that reason, hands up. And that's great. So, a lot of people would love to bike. A lot of people tell me, this isn't the place for it. Oh no, you can't bike it. Oh, you gotta drive it, man. So I bike it, I don't own a car, I bike to the TMC I live right around here and I bike to the TMC every day. And there's a sweet two-way cycle track protected down West Peachtree or something downtown, and I take that part of the way, and then I cut down, not that one. I don't remember which one it is. But this, all this culminates to, we could do better. We could do a little better. There's obviously a demand. There's even more of an induced demand in bicycle facilities. If you build it, they will come. It's kind of basically what this is saying. This becomes, it's pretty easy to see how this kind of builds out in the metro Atlanta area, in urban centers across the state, in Savannah, in Macon. But how does this happen in the suburban and rural context? And that's definitely something we're still working on, and still working on finding how to integrate that in a more statewide level. And so that's something we talk about in our task teams. So in addition to the pedestrian safety action plan, we also have a bicycle safety action plan that we got approved. The steps are similar. The first main goal of that is to collect data, to understand the data, and to basically use that data in understanding trends, patterns, and the behavior of bicyclists and where we can anticipate and act accordingly. Again, what we would like to see is finding ways to develop the line of thinking where bicycle infrastructure is incorporated earlier in the design phase. And that doesn't mean that every road needs a bike lane. That means that for every maybe general area, you need to develop a transportation plan that involves a bicycle plan, a bicycle area map. And that does, again, it doesn't mean a bike lane on every road, but it means a connected network. And so that's connecting everything with every few roads have a bike lane, but make sure that people who need to bike places can bike where they need to go. So it's an equity issue. A lot of people do not have cars. A lot of people are forced to walk or bike, and so focusing on those areas and focusing on regional connectivity as well as local connectivity is very important. Train and engage our partners. Again, we're working a lot with law enforcement on seeing, understanding the crash types, understanding crash information, bicycle patterns, people who see this on the roads every day. And it always comes down to the money. We have to figure out how to allocate funding streams to move these projects forward, how we can creatively use a lot of funds to improve bicycle infrastructure through the state. And the BSAP was worked on with Georgia Bikes, has done a ton of work on developing a document with GDOT that will also be a part of the larger GOHS safety document. The first thing is obviously identifying the current state of bicycle safety in Georgia. And the current state of bicycle safety as well as bicycle ridership and increasing that, because I think they come hand in hand. The more bicycles you see around, the more aware you become of bicycles. And the more we can change the general mindset of the state, then we can improve safety, I think. Again, developing local bicycle safety action plans, creating a regional connectivity network, and incorporating the infrastructure earlier in the process makes it all easier later down the road. So within the bicycle safety action plan, there's some more statewide data. If any of you live, work, operate in these areas, you should sign up for the Bicycle Safety Task Team because you're in a focus area. So these basically mean that they have a high number of collisions, high number of fatalities per capita. These are areas that we've identified via a prioritization method that if you talk to me later, I can relay your questions and ask Georgia Bikes, who helped us greatly with this, as to more details on that. But basically, if you're in one of these areas, I would really implore you to reach out to me and we could talk about how, regionally we look at these areas and start alleviating some of these problems in bicycle infrastructure. So moving forward, on a statewide level, we, as the Bicycle Safety Task Team, are trying to build a community where we can reach out, network, provide resources, bring people together to create a sense of community on a high level across the state. So if you're in Macon, you don't feel alone because there's not many bike advocates in Macon or bike professional or engineers that understand the design process of how you build bike lanes. This task team kind of serves as an all-encompassing. It's a lot of different people from a lot of different fields, from a lot of different parts of the state that have a lot of different challenges. And all of us have a unique tool set. We all come together, we can really understand more on a statewide level on how we can incorporate bicycles. On a local level, this kind of also provides the tools to reaching out and finding these solutions and finding out what kind of conversations need to be had to improve bike safety and improve the awareness for bicycles, awareness for other non-motorized transportation in general. These are all things we have to think about moving forward if we want to lower the fatality count, which is what we want to do. We want to make this a Vision Zero goal, and that means anything to reduce the fatality count. So if any of that resonated with you guys, we'd love to have you as a part of the Bicycle Safety Task Team as well. If there's anything you think you could add to our task team, we'd be happy to have you. Again, the more multifaceted members we have in this task team, the more all-encompassing the information becomes, the more resources we all have. And so it's not necessarily a very involved thing, but we have a call-in number, we have a meeting for the Bicycle Safety Task Team, it's every 2 or 3 months, and for the Pedestrian Safety Task Team, it's every other month. And this way we can start to build this statewide bicycle community. Let me hear a woo if everyone wants to build a statewide bicycle community. That's what I'm talking about.
My name is Mike Mitchell. I am the Director of the Regulatory Compliance Division at the Department of Driver Services. I just want to spend about 30 seconds telling you a little bit about my background. For the past 5 years, I have done the governmental affairs and communications work for the Department of Driver Services. I transitioned in January over to regulatory compliance. I spent 3 months during the legislative session this year getting my replacement up to speed, so I have only been in regulatory for about a full month. Regulatory compliance is the division at the Department of Driver Services that is responsible for managing the Georgia Motorcycle Safety Program. And as I was getting my arms around the program itself and the functions that it performs, as well as its role with the Governor's Office of Highway Safety and the Strategic Highway Safety Plan, I started asking questions, and I was like, okay, who are the members? When was the last time that this task team met? What I realized was that there are currently no members of the Motorcycle Safety Task Team, and there has not been a formal meeting. So I am a glass half full type of person. I'm excited about the potential for this particular task team, but I come before you today with not much to report on the task team itself, but I do want to know if we've got any riders here in the audience, any folks that are just enthusiastic about motorcycles or motorcycle safety, I would strongly encourage you to please sign up to be a part of this task team. Right outside here, we actually have a display set up. Our social media outreach specialist, Dr. Linda Boffman, is manning that particular table. She's got a sign-up sheet, so I would, again, really encourage you to help us out and help us get this very, very important task team up and going. You got to start somewhere, right? I mean, I don't ride. I'd like to obtain a Class M driver's license myself. So, you know, as I am out and speaking to folks within the motorcycling community, I'm a bit intimidated standing up there talking to them, being a person that does not have a Class M and someone that has never legally operated a motorcycle. But at any rate, you've got to start somewhere. So we have to start somewhere. And I will tell you right off the bat, I do not have Jack's enthusiasm. My slides are not as eye-catching as his slides. I'm sitting there looking at his presentation and I'm like, gosh, I wish I added some pictures. Gosh, I wish I had added some colors. All right, well, next year, folks, next year. Okay, this is a learning experience for me as well. So, okay, so the vision for the Georgia Motorcycle Safety Program, I think the last bullet sums it up. We exist to reduce crashes, serious injuries, and fatalities of motorcyclists. We do that through training. We, at the Department of Driver Services, we employ 40 part-time coaches that teach basic rider courses throughout the state. We have a number of private providers here in the state of Georgia, Harley-Davidson Motorcycle Safety Foundation. They employ 35 coaches, and most of their campuses are located in the urban areas. And so with a combination of the courses that we offer as well as the courses that the private providers offer, that is responsible for the training of folks who are wanting to safely and legally operate motorcycles. If they complete the class, then they can waive the skills test when they come to driver services to get their Class M motorcycle license. We also provide a quality assurance aspect to the program. So these programs that are operating and training individuals to safely operate motorcycles, we want to make sure that they're doing it the right way. So our coaches go out routinely and perform quality assurance audits to make sure that everything is being done properly. Okay, recent events within the Georgia Motorcycle Safety Program. We had an annual update in February, which is required of all coaches to attend, and that is basically where the program updates coaches on new law changes, changes to the curriculum. Here in the state of Georgia, the curriculum that we use is the Motorcycle Safety Foundation curriculum. So we had a very good turnout. 85 state and private coaches attended that event. We also are excited that we recently filled the community outreach specialist position. That's Dr. Linda Boffman, who I just mentioned, who is outside, again, taking names of anybody that is interested in signing up for the task team. This is a position that was vacant for 3 months, and we were excited to get that filled. Dr. Boffman officially started on April 16th, and she has hit the ground running doing outreach events around the state. She is going to actually get to count today's event as an outreach event for the grant, so I'm excited about that. And then just as part of her position, Dr. Boffman will be expected to serve on this task team that we're standing up. So we have taken a step in the right direction. I guess she can consider officially to be the first member of the task team. All right, so we are actively working to hire us a new coordinator. We no longer have our previous coordinator, and so we're working to fill that. We are currently interviewing and hope to have that position filled relatively quickly. This new coordinator will be expected again to take on full responsibility for the task team. and hopefully we will be able to introduce our new coordinator when we have this meeting again next year. And just some stats to throw out. And again, these numbers were run in March because at the time we were working on renewing the Motorcycle Safety Program grant through the Governor's Office of Highway Safety. The number of motorcycles that are registered here in Georgia continue to increase, as well as the number of drivers here in the state that possess a Class M motorcycle driver's license. We quite often get requests for statistics, including the number of motorcyclists we have licensed and motorcycles that we have registered in the state. Some stats that from 2012 to 2016 that have us a bit concerned is just the increase in the fatalities here in the state of Georgia. For folks that are operating motorcycles, increase of 28% from 134 to 172, something that we definitely need to keep an eye on. And then during that same time period, there was about a 4% increase in the population in the state of Georgia. So that is definitely something that we want to be mindful of and try to get that number down. Blood alcohol concentration continues to be a problem and be a contributing factor in fatalities. 25% of the motorcycle crashes in 2016, we had operators of motorcycles that had a BAC at or not at, but actually higher than 0.08. And then 9 of the fatalities were motorcyclists that were not wearing helmets. Both very preventable, both contributing factors very preventable there. So as part of our outreach efforts, we certainly want to focus on the alcohol as well as the helmets. And just a breakdown of the number of classes that are being offered around the state and the number of students that we're reaching with the basic rider courses. So as I mentioned previously, it's a combination between the state and private sites. So you can see calendar year 2017, the private sites far outpacing BDS with the number of students that are being trained. 2018 stats through the end of March, and one thing that is noticeable in the stats is just the fact, sorry about the duplicate boxes there, it's just the fact that the riding classes for both the state and the private sites are down, comparing January through March 2018 to the classes and the students taught in 2017. So really, I do know why our numbers are down, and that was because a few of our locations were offline for several months. There was an interest and an effort to privatize the program where, that is, we would no longer be competing against the private providers. We would sort of move away from training to more of a quality assurance and regulatory function. And when we presented that plan to the providers, and we went over the numbers with them in terms of the funding required to run the program, they expressed some concern, so we basically put the move toward privatization on hold indefinitely. So we have since reactivated some of those training sites.